And as news of the king's decree reached all the provinces, there was great mourning among the Jews. They fasted, wept, and wailed, and many people lay in burlap and ashes. When Queen Esther's maids, eunuchs, came and told about Mordecai, she was deeply distressed. She sent clothing to him to replace the burlap, but he refused it. Then Esther sent for Hathach, one of the king's eunuchs who had been appointed as her attendant. She ordered him to go to Mordecai and find out what was troubling him and why he was in mourning. So Hathach went out to Mordecai in the square in front of the palace gate. Mordecai told him the whole story, including the exact amount of money Haman had promised to pay into the royal treasury for the destruction of the Jews. Mordecai gave Hathach a copy of the decree issued in Susa that called for the death of all the Jews. He asked Hathach to show it to Esther and to explain the situation to her. He also asked Hathach to direct her to go to the king to beg for mercy and plead for her people. So Hathach returned to Esther with Mordecai's message. Then Mordecai told Hathach to go back and reply this message to Mordecai. And the king's officials and even the people in the province know that anyone who appears before the king in his inner court without being invited is doomed to die, unless the king holds out his gold scepter. And the king has not called for me to come from the 40 days for 30 days. So Hathach gave Esther's message to Mordecai. Mordecai's reply to Pastor Paul: Esther, don't think for a moment that because you're in a place in the palace, you will escape when all the Jews are killed. If you keep quiet like at this time like this, deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relatives will die. Who knows? It's perhaps you were made queen for such a time as this.
Amen.
Then Esther sent reply to Mordecai: go and gather together all the Jews of Susa and fast for me. Don't eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. My maids and I will do the same. And then, though it is against the law, I will go in to see the king. And if I must die.
Come on, Pastor. Hallelujah. Jesus.
I must die. So Mordecai went away and did everything as Esther had ordered him. Father, speak in this place. In Jesus' name. On this 15th anniversary, I just want to encourage you, Pastor, and people, turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, it's your time.
It's your time.
It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. It's your time. Some months ago, a sister from St. Louis, Missouri, who now currently lives in Los Angeles, California, and has for the last 20 years or so he was not giving her the proper information that she was looking for. And every moment that he tried to move past answering some difficult and some hard questions, she would stop and tell the controller of the time, I'm reclaiming my time. Amen. Congresswoman Maxine Waters was and is a powerful woman of God. And in the moment where tragedy was taking place in a particular community because of police brutality and a number of unnamed and unarmed individuals being gunned down, she wanted answers. And she said to the people, I'm reclaiming my time. I just come by to encourage you, Pastor. I know there's some time that you want to reclaim. Is there anybody in the house today that has some moments where you want to tell the enemy, wait a minute.
Come on.
The mess you've taken me through, the sorrow you've caused me, the pain that I've allowed you to, that I've endured in my life, I'm reclaiming my time.
Come on.
And if you're going to reclaim your time today, you've got to understand that it's your time. And that time is one of those spacious things in our lives that we don't understand, that every moment is precious.
Yes.
And once time is gone, you can't get it back. And that's why you ought to be able to do what God has asked you to do while you have time. And it's important for us to understand today that time is that very thing that sometimes we take for granted. Time is that thing that sometimes we waste worrying about stuff that we can't control, trying to expand our time. But the reality is, all we have is right here and right now.
Come on, Pastor.
So I ask you a question. What are you going to do with the time that God has given you?
Wow.
We're here to celebrate 15 years of time. Time that a woman of God has been faithful. Time that a people of God has been faithful. But I also come to speak into your hearts today that it's still your time. Because the enemy wants us to understand, and the enemy wants to confuse us, because the enemy is always trying to frustrate our time. Who's ever just been frustrated with the time that you have?
Yes.
The enemy is always trying to take us on a detour, which will cause us to take more time out of God's direction for our lives. Not only that, but we've got to learn that even with frustrations and even with setbacks and detours, we must learn to trust the providential time of God.
Wow.
God is the controller of time. I don't care how you measure it up. It's God who's in control of everything. And so here we are in this text that what I love about the book of Esther, as we celebrate the month of March, Women History Month, we celebrate you, Pastor, for being a pastor. And let us be honest about it. It's not easy being a pastor, but it's as equally as difficult being a woman pastor when sometimes people don't want to respect your time.
All right.
The time you put in on your knees, and the time that you put in the Word of God, the time that you put in washing people's feet, the time that you've been, and not only that, but then some of us men don't appreciate the time that a woman pastor would put in.
Wow.
I'll get in trouble later, but it's all right. It's the truth anyhow. That we don't value women who have gone before us. Women like Deborah, women like Sarah, women who have gone before us. Even Eve, even though we can ask some questions when we get to heaven, but we ought to value the women that God has placed in the church. Value the leadership that comes from women who have stood in the gap in the midst of time.
Speak.
I don't know about you. I thank God for time. I thank God for time. But what I even more like about the book of Esther is a book in the Bible out of 66. It does not mention the name of God not one time.
Wow.
Yeah. If you read it, I've read it at least once or twice. Go ahead, open up your tablet, pull up your smartphone, or pull up your Google app. Go to BibleGateway.com and start reading from Esther chapter 1 all the way to the end of the book, and you will not see God's name mentioned one time.
Wow.
And sometimes you've got to be able to trust God and know something about your relationship with God based on the time that you spend with God, that when you get in a moment in your life that God's name is barely mentioned anywhere in the atmosphere, the fact that God lives on the inside of you and I, we can trust God's time. So let me drop this in your spirit. Drop this in your spirit if our time is going to be valuable, because I don't want to waste your time. She could have invited anybody on her 50th anniversary, and I don't want to waste your time. And I'm grateful that God has given us this time. But the book of Esther, as it relates in this time, it's a time in their history where they have come out of exile, and now King Xerxes is of the king of Persia is now in control of the universe. He's in control of all the resources in the region, and you Vashti,
yes.
Listen, women, let me help you. You can talk yourself out of a blessing by now taking advantage of the time that you have.
Listen.
And find yourself being, instead of to the left.
Right.
The king will tell you to step to the right. Because see, you don't know how to value the time that you have with the king, so that when the king calls on you, that you know how to respond. Oh, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Come on.
Let me rewind and tell you the story. Vashti was the queen at the time, and because she got tired of the king showing her off, look, you better not ever get mad at your man wanting to show you off. And every time he would call for her, this one particular time, she got an attitude.
Right.
Oh, women, y'all don't get attitudes. Some of y'all want to roll your eyes at me right now. But reclaim your time. And she got an attitude because she would not take advantage of the time that God had given her.
Come on.
And because she would not take advantage of the time, the king said, you know what? Since you tripping, let me go and find me someone who can value the time that I'm trying to share with her to be able to bless her. And in the midst of all of this, the king moved Queen Vashti to the side and sent out a decree to look for another queen.
That's right.
And Hadassah was Esther's name before she became the star, is what her name is translated to. Don't you know that sometimes God has to move people out of the way, that you've been feeling like you in the background, that you've been feeling like you've been left out, you've been feeling as if it doesn't matter anymore, that your light has dimmed. But I come to tell someone today that God has to prepare some things to get out of the way so that he can cause you to shine brighter than the others have in the times past.
Teach.
Say it's our time.
It's our time.
Our time. If it's going to be your time, you've got to understand that God has not only placed us in position just because he wants you to shine, but he's placed you in position because he has a plan for your life.
All right.
The plan is that there was a decree that was sent out by an evil man by the name of Haman, who wanted to destroy all of the Jews in the land. And what he did not know is that while you're working on the outside trying to destroy, God is already working on the inside, making preparation for what the enemy's plan is for you. And I come to tell somebody today that don't worry about what your enemy is trying to do on the outside. Just trust what God is doing on the inside, so that when the enemy shows up on the outside, you won't be moved by what's going on the inside of your life.
Preach.
So Esther, through her cousin Mordecai. And what I love about Esther's story, she's a daughter who lost her father and her mother at an early age. She was almost, in that time and season and culture, if you did not have parents, you were treated badly. But isn't it something about God, that God can take your story and turn it around and begin to use it for his glory? But it's not only for a blessing for you. Here it is, newsflash, email from heaven, that God is only blessing you because he'll trust that you'll bless somebody else.
Come on.
So her time is blessed. She's installed as the new queen. Cousin Mordecai also serves in the kingdom. Aren't you glad that God would always give you a hookup?
Right.
That he'll grab somebody by the hand and say, look, we need to partner on this thing, because it's not only my time, but it's your time. So Mordecai finds out about this evil plan to destroy the people of God.
Come on.
Don't you know it's always somebody trying to steal your joy?
Yes.
Smiling in your face.
Stab you in the back.
That's too old school.
Come on.
The theology of Chris Brown, he say they not loyal. Kendrick Lamar would say loyalty.
Listen.
Friends are not loyal. And they let me bring it up to the new generation, the old school, so y'all don't feel left out. They smile in your face
all the time. Want to take your place. The backstab.
Yeah, y'all was at that club last night, wasn't you? But here it is. It's your time. It's your time, Pastor Didi. It's your time, Church of Obedience. It's your time to do and be all that God has purposed you to be, even while the enemy on the outside is plotting and scheming.
Yes.
God is working something on the inside that's going to bless everybody, including your enemies.
Wow.
Let me get out of here. If you're going to reclaim your time and discover that it's your time, there are three things you need to know in the text. The first is found in verses 1 through 7. If you and I are going to reclaim our time, the first thing we must do is seek the Lord even when he seems hidden.
All right.
Remember, I told you the text does not mention the name of God one time. And I don't know about you. Maybe Church of Obedience is a better Christians and the disciples than I am. But there are some moments in time in my relationship with God that God seems so hidden. You see, y'all, God has never been hidden to you.
Oh yeah.
That it don't make no sense that you looking for God and God as if he's playing hide and go seek.
Right, right.
God is so hidden in the moment that you're going through that you need him to show up. And God, it appears that he does not show up out of anywhere. I come to tell someone today that we must seek him even while he seems hidden. Here's why. Because oftentimes we can't see how the Father is working, but we must trust his plan. We don't always see how God is working. And the truth of the matter is, I don't like how God works sometimes. I don't like how he hides his plan. I wish he would at least give me coming attractions. Like when I'm sitting in the movie theater, that there's going to be a moment you cry here. Come on. There's going to be a moment you're going to feel disappointed here. There's going to be a moment that people are going to talk about you here. There's going to be a moment where you're going to feel abandoned. But I come to tell you today, seek him even while he's hidden. Because God is most often found in our chaos and not outside of it.
That's right.
That's why sometimes you get trouble in life, is because God is in your trouble, not outside of your trouble. You don't believe me? Ask the 3 Hebrew boys. God did not show up until they were thrown in the fire.
That's right.
And the fire was turned up seven times hotter.
That's right.
So I come to encourage somebody today. Keep seeking him. If it's going to be your time, if you're going to reclaim your time and be able to stand 15 more years, stand 15 more minutes, stand one more day, you've got to seek him. How do you seek him? Early in the morning, David says, how do you seek him? Sometimes you got to shut off social media, close the blinds, turn off the TV, turn off your Snapchat, and get on your face and ask God, I need you to help me. God, I need you to explain this to me. God, I need some help right now. God, I'm going through. Seek the Lord while he may be found.
Go on and preach this thing. Preach this.
Sometimes it's difficult to find God while you're going through.
Yes.
I know a little bit about it now, Pastor. 4 years of pastor. Sometimes, God, I'm like, you tripping on me.
Wow.
That's how we have a relationship. So
that's all right.
I'm being disrespectful.
Amen.
God, where are you? You said that you would never leave me nor forsake me. And the truth of the matter is, he will never leave you nor forsake you. But when you step outside of his will,
all right. Come on.
Make it plain, brother. Make it plain.
Esther did not know that the only reason that God had caused her to move from obscurity into prominence is because he had a plan for her life.
Come on.
And although Mordecai thought God was hidden and the over 100,000 Jews in the time of that community, look, it feels like sometimes God is hidden in the African American community. I don't know how you feel about it. Sometimes it feels like when police are shooting us down, he's hidden. When our young men are going to prison and not going to college, it seems like he's hidden. When it seems like we have more issues and challenges than everybody. Oh, he ain't never been hidden in your block.
Come on, come on.
Yeah. Come on, come on. Yes.
Secondly, verses 8 through 14, specifically verse 13, the B part of the verse in verse 14, Mordecai says, don't think for a moment.
Come on, come on.
That just because you used to live in the hood and now you wearing nice clothes and you in the palace, that you will escape when all the other Jews are killed. Hit your neighbor and say, you need to say something.
You need to say something.
If you keep quiet at a time like this,
come on.
Deliverance and relief for the Jews will arise from some other place. But you and your relative, don't you know the reason some of our relatives are in the mess that they in is because some of us won't open our mouths. Look, if I can't help you, I'm not going to harm you.
Wow.
That if helping you causes me more pain than you getting better while I'm helping you, then maybe we need to change the dynamics of the relationship. Maybe we need to learn how. Somebody say something.
Say something.
The reason God has blessed you, the reason God has elevated you, the reason God has elevated your life and given you the blessings that you have. Here's the second thing we need to know about the text. He doesn't want you to downplay your role.
That's right.
See, some of us don't feel that we worthy.
Right.
Some of us don't feel that God has anything to do with our lives. Some of us feel as if God can't work it out. Some of us feel as if God can't work through us. Some of us feel that it's over for us because of some of the mistakes that we've made, some of the challenges that we've had. But I come to tell you that God has allowed you to experience what you've gone through, allowed you to experience that pain, allowed you to experience that setback, to experience that heartbreak, to experience that challenge, because he believes that after you have been delivered, you go open up your mouth and not downplay how good God has been to you in your life, and you will say something.
Wow.
That's right.
Make it plain.
That's right.
Because here's the truth of the matter. God's sovereignty is more important than our feelings.
All right.
The sovereignty of God simply means that God is God. He does what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, with whom he ever wants to do it, with forever how long he wants to do it.
Come on.
He's God.
Come on.
He doesn't ask our permission, which means that when you and I are downplaying our role, we forgot the fact that somewhere you prayed that God, if you can use anything.
Wow.
Who's ever prayed that prayer? And then when God promotes you, and then when God uncovers you, and when God is calling you out to use you, then you feel afraid because of the obstacles that are before you.
That's right. That's right.
But we forgot, go back to chapter 2. You'll remember that Esther went through 12 months of preparation. She went through 6 months of oil and myrrh and another 6 months of perfumes and ointments. This is what I'm trying to say. Preparation plus timing equals your destiny.
Come on. Come on.
That God is preparing you, and all he's waiting for is for you to catch up with his timing,
right,
so that your purpose can be revealed. The issue is sometimes you and I are too busy playing small because we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings, because when you find out who you are in God, the truth of the matter is you're going to lose some friends.
All right.
Tell you, you think you all of that. No, I don't. I just know who God has made me to be. You're going to lose people who wants to be comfortable, place you in a box. But the truth of the matter is it's my time and my purpose has met up with my preparation. And now I'm walking in timing with God, which has now revealed my destiny.
All right, all right.
Somebody say it's your time.
It's your time.
So if it's your time, Pastor Didi, if it's your time, Church of Obedience, if it's going to be your time, you've got to look for God. You've got to seek God even when he's hidden. And secondly, you can't downplay your role.
All right, all right.
You can't downplay your role. But here's the final thing I want to tell you. Accept the risk associated with your purpose.
That's it.
I'm going to let that marinate for a moment.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Songwriter said, must Jesus bear the cross alone and all the world go free? There's a cross for everyone.
Wow.
There's a cross for you and me. You and I must accept the risk
That's right. That's right.
that comes with it being your time.
Wow, wow, wow.
And listen, it's a risk sometimes to trust God. It's a risk that pays off, though. It's a risk sometimes to lay out on the mercy of God and trust that He's going to make everything work out. Because the text says in verse 15 through 17, verse 15 and 16, it says, then Esther sent a reply to Mordecai. Go and gather together all the Jews. And listen. Don't fast for you, but fast for me.
Yes, yes, yes.
Amen.
Listen. Sometimes you and I got to learn to set ourselves aside.
All right.
That's a risk because you don't know what I'm going through. I need God to fix it for me. I need God to check on my child. I need God to solve my issues. I need God to work it out for me. But if you're going to walk in God's timing and do what God has called us to do, you've got to take the risk sometimes and pray for somebody else, knowing that God is already going to work it out for you. Esther says, is a risk for me because I must be summoned into the king's presence.
Oh, wow, wow.
And I saw what happened to Queen Vashti,
Right.
who didn't go when she was called.
My God.
And I don't want to go before time.
Come on, come on.
But I want to go in time for the plan that God has for my life. I told you that Esther was a Jew. King Xerxes did not know that Esther was a Jew when he selected her as a king, because God is always before our time, working in our time, so that when it's time for deliverance to come, he already has somebody in place.
Yes.
So that the people of God can receive deliverance. She says, I'm going to go see the king. And if I must die, I must die.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about a risk. Risk comes with rescue. God will never leave you nor forsake you, and he will not leave you without an answer. Not only does a risk come with rescue, but a risk comes with reward.
Come on.
That because she went to the king, the very thing that was meant for them, God turned it around for their good.
Yes.
And the plot was exposed, and the stake that was supposed to be for the children of God ultimately was for Haman.
Right.
And he was the one who got the risk turned on him, and the people of God got the reward. And all I come to do today is encourage you, Church of Obedience, that you've got to take a risk. You've got to keep trusting God. You've got to keep calling on the name kingdom of God. You've got to take a risk and keep trusting in the vision that God has given the woman of God. Just like Esther, if she's got to go, then let her go. If she's got to go to God on your behalf, fast for her so that she can get an answer from God. Fast for her so that deliverance can come for your family. Fast for her so that deliverance can come for this community. Fast for her so that joy can be returned. Fast for her so that your strength can return. Fast for her so that God can make a way out of no way. I come to tell somebody today, it's your time. Time to be blessed. Time to be strengthened. Time to be encouraged. Time to be lifted up. Time to lift your hands. Time to give him praise. Time to give him a shout of victory. Time to lift your hands. It's your time.
Yes, Lord.
Thank you.
And might I add,
Thank you, Jesus.
she's from the tribe of Benjamin,
Yes, yes, yes.
which means God's right hand. That when you come from the family of God and you God's right hand, you never have to worry about a hand being lifted to you.
All right.
It's your time, Church of Obedience.
Yes, Lord.
Pastor Didi, reclaim your time.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord.
Church of Obedience, reclaim your time. It's your time to be blessed. It's your time to walk in victory. Because the Lord Jesus Christ, at the right time,
Come on.
died for us while we were yet in our sin. I don't know how you feel about it today. And whenever it's God's time, here it is. Seek him. When you know it's God's time, be willing to take a risk. And when you know it's God's time, downplay the fact that you blessed. In Jesus' name.